Hello, everyone, and welcome to an all-new Deep Cuts Live. I'm your host, Antoine Reid, and if this is your first time watching, just make sure you hit that like or subscribe button to be notified of any time we have new shows or new content that drops on the channel. Today, we're having another retailer with us, so Industrial Cigar Company. They're down in Texas, so I didn't think about it when I was putting this month's shows together, but we have 3 Texas retailers, which is fun, but definitely something different that you all, I think, will get a lot from hearing from them. So we have Dave and Brandon Frakes from Industrial with us, and we're going to bring them on. So let's get ready. You guys, how are you?
I said be serious.
What's up, Antoine?
Not much. It's good to see you all. Like I said, as I've been telling most people, last time I saw you two was at PCA. So
We were at full force there.
That's a trade show in Las Vegas, and we were all kind of running around trying to get our business done. And I'm sure that it was a busy show for you all. It was probably, like, for me, like, it had been a while since I've been at PCA, but it was a really busy show, and there were lots of new releases, and it was just like trying to get in there and trying to get everything done.
Let's not fool ourselves. Okay. For you, it's very busy. For manufacturers, it's very busy. For us, it's busy because we make it busy.
Yeah.
And we do have systems.
Yeah.
But we're retailers walking around a cigar show.
We know handing us cigars for nothing.
Yeah.
Here, smoke this.
So, yeah, don't feel bad for us because it's the Frakes Boys 4 plus busy.
Yeah.
And we're in Vegas smoking cigars. So,
Yeah.
a great show, super busy. Unfortunately, we weren't able to connect as long as we would have liked. But regardless, thank you for having us, by the way. This is awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, like I was, I always feel like retailers are fun. You all have such interesting stories, but, in this industry, you never get to really tell your story, or we never really get to hear from you. So it's like a really, bad situation in that, like I said, we just never get to hear from the retailers. And yet I think of you all, like, you all have a hard job. Like, you're talking about how easy the trade show is for you, but throughout the year, you are the ones who are in the store having to basically be salespeople and sell these products, that's in your humidor to the consumer. And, and I know that the manufacturers try to help you as much as they can, but they're not there, all the time. And you just have such a big task on your hand. I'm like, that story's like not being told in the industry. So you all are really like your local celebrities. Like, your consumers and your customers probably see you a lot more than they see some of the brand owners that they, are purchasing from.
That
For sure. I don't know about the celebrity part, but
I hope we aren't the celebrities here.
no, but I will say this, though. I think as retailers, we've kind of cracked the code. Our model is really built on consumer education. It's not about the amount of facings. We curate our floor. We can certainly talk about how we curate our humidor to make sure that we've got a very unique offering, but the best overall product for the money. And now the best product for the money could be $35 a cigar, but it's very carefully curated. But we've kind of found that what's kind of cracked the code on our success is this intense desire to educate customers when they come in the door, not talk down to them, not go, you should smoke this because I'm smoking it. Where we've really found that connection is with the brand owners. So Luciano and Nelson Alfonso and Darren Chaffee and all these guys come in, and they know that we're so committed to this education that they tell us the story. They tell us the story of where it's at on the plant, where it's at in the field. They give us that because they know that we will put that into a nice snowball and take that to the floor and unravel that. As you know, as you talk to these manufacturers, Anton,
his name's
Antoine. Sorry. Well, I can hardly read that.
All
I'm
right,
60 years old.
Damn, let's go. Keep doing what you're doing.
This is why I beat my children early and often.
But you had a good point before.
I had a good point
before you cut off Anton over there.
Anton,
sorry, Antoine.
and my good friend Anton, when he comes in, I'm calling him Antoine from this point on.
You're on out. That's it. But I think, to your point, I think if you marry the education with a hospitality approach to the retail experience. I think that's really, if you're going to say what the point of difference is product selection, education, and hospitality, which ultimately creates a community and a family. We say welcome to the family. And it's something where you're not going to leave your family member hanging out in the corner. You're always going to bring them in. And if one of your family members is passionate about something, it's going to bleed into the rest of the family. So I think that's where we find ourselves right now.
For sure.
You know, and I want to kind of like jump right in, and you have your first comment, which is David Bennett, who says,
"Thank you, David.
Thank
you."
So, like I said, I think that's important that you all have people who want to learn more about you and learn more about your business.
Thank you, David.
I want to right into something that you said, which was the education part of the business, because as a media person, I get all the press releases, and I was talking about this to Ian and Rebecca last Thursday about what do consumers ask for when they come into your store, because I think that's an interesting question, because as these cigar companies are coming up with their marketing plans, I'm wondering how much they really ask you all this kind of question, like what are they asking for, and are you getting that kind of information? Because the press releases give you the impression that everybody's coming in asking for like the ingredients, like what's in the cigar, like wrapper, binder, filler.
Yeah.
And what Rebecca and Ian were saying was like sometimes but there's more of their nerdy customers who really know something about it. And then I asked them, well, what was the flip side? Is a story, like how many people? And for them, they said it was like maybe 50-50 of that. What's that for you all? Like, what are people at?
I think, me personally, I think that never assume somebody doesn't want to know. And the more that somebody wants to get into this culture, this lifestyle, the more they'll want to know. So I always say, never assume they know. Never assume they know anything, and never assume that they don't want to learn. And so we really focus on giving that a lot of information, a lot of qualifying questions. That to suggest a cigar based on the way somebody looks when they walk in, it's the wrong way about making sure you curate the right cigar for them. Our humidor is curated, meaning me and my 3 sons, we test every cigar. We sell a lot of cigars here, so every manufacturer wants a position on the floor, but we test the cigars, and if it doesn't taste great, perform great at a great value, and if it's not unanimous, we don't put it on the floor. So we have some lines that we may have just a sliver of their overall assortment, but that's all that made the cut. So our customers now after 5 years know if it made Industrial's floor, it must be good. And now it's our job to educate them. The challenge we have is the average rep walks in the door. It's Dominican, Nicaraguan, some Ecuadorian this, and it's $7.99. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, and it's not going to resonate with people. I mean, at the end of the day, if we do have people who walk in that they name off a blend, right? Chances are they know just enough to get in trouble. And that's where the question in return will be opening the door for an experience. They say, I need a Cameroon wrapper. Well, what do you like about a Cameroon wrapper? Mm-hmm. Chances are they don't know anything. They just smoked a couple cigars they liked with Cameroon. That's not, I don't want to sound disrespectful in that realm. Yeah. That's my experience. But then we start cracking into the real question, which is, what do you want out of your cigar? And regardless of what that blend composition is, it doesn't matter. Because you have a cigar with the Zulu by Gran Habano.
Yep.
That on paper should not smoke anything like it does.
Right.
I mean, a lot of Nicaraguan tobacco, you would think it's going to be big and full, but it's like this big, frothy marshmallow texture. Beautiful. It's like a s'mores. It's unbelievable. And if you tell them Nicaraguan tobacco, or you give them the experience of think about eating a s'mores. Now let's walk through it and dissect it. People can remember what it's like to eat a s'mores. They can't remember what everything is like on a Nicaraguan cigar. So we find a good balance, but I think it's our responsibility to understand what it is they're looking for. But I would say we're probably 70-30 of people who want the experience versus
I'll tell you, when we do events called Night at the Factory, where we'll actually have a brand owner will come in, we'll have rollers, we'll get a series of holochos, the small little individual leaves, and a sushi menu, and basically allow them to taste the individual leaves, smoke them together, create their blend, go out and have the roller roll it for them, smoke their cigar, and if they like it, they can buy 40 cigars. That is an experience that when we do those events, they fill up instantly.
Wow.
Instantly. So there is this, people crave that type of experience. And I think the other thing that I think retailers kind of miss the beat is not asking the question. When somebody comes in and says, I'm a full-bodied smoker, they take them to full-bodied cigars without going, well, hold it. What do you think is full-bodied? They may smoke a medium or a light cigar and think that that's full-bodied. So you could really knock this guy off the rails if you then go hand him a full-bodied cigar because that's what he asked for. That's why it's so important in the humidor to ask those questions. But in the end, we always say, we're really not as concerned about what happens in the humidor. From the humidor to the front counter means less to us than what happens from your experience from the front counter into the lounge. We're more concerned about the overall experience that they have. Humidor is part of it, but if you take care of your customers and create an environment that is full of entertainment and full of camaraderie and full of all of the cigar lifestyle, the cigars take care of themselves.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting to hear, like I said, because whenever I get a press release and it just tells you wrapper, binder, filler, that doesn't really mean much to me personally, just because I am not that level of cigar enthusiast that can be like, oh my gosh, like this, it has this combination that I can imagine how it's gonna. I'm like, okay, it's like it doesn't mean anything to me. So I'm always curious of like, for a retailer, like when you're coming into a store, I've never heard of anybody walking into a store saying, give me like I'm looking for an Ecuadorian this, this in the binder, this in the filler.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting is neither do the manufacturers give a shit about it anyways. They don't care about the blend compositions either. They want the experience as well. So if there are newbies who are watching, hopefully we've got newbies in there, sound off if you're in. But I think if there's a message to the newbie, it's the blend composition means very little of understanding what the line items are. Just enjoy the cigar and pay attention to those that have a story, because you're going to find real quick that some of those cigars that don't have a story, they've just been on the shelves forever, they probably aren't going to entice you to stay in this. So pay attention to the ones with the story.
And I think that's one thing that kind of shows our desire to educate is we created the Facebook group Cigar Newbies. And it was just, I belonged to all these cigar groups, and I would watch a legitimate newbie ask a new question. How do I season a humidor? Or how do I cut it? Or how do I light it? And these people would just make them feel like an idiot for asking the question. So what we said was, let's create an environment that is where newbies can come in and ask questions, and we'll answer them. And there is no stupid question, no matter what it is. If that's the thing that gets you the next step down the path of this heading towards this amazing cigar culture, then let us help you get there. And we're not there pipping our website. We're not doing all that other stuff. You're on the site. We feed you. You feed in through our Cigar Newbies page, and that's an area where we get a lot of the outside trolls, that the spammers and scammers that are trying to get in to peddle their Cuban cigars and or Chinese accessories and all those stuff. We boot them. If anyone is rude, we boot them. I saw last week we had 78 people approved. 98 people were not approved because you could tell they just started their Facebook page 3 days ago. That type of stuff, they're not going to get in. So we want to create a safe environment for newbies to be able to come in and ask whatever question they want. And it's just been cool to see how the community has come together and is also answering these questions, but with respect.
And that's what's so cool about this show in particular with Deep Cuts. You are getting access and conversations with monsters in this industry.
Yes, for
right?
Sure.
And someone can just sit in and watch what the conversation is and figure out if they dig this guy, or maybe he's not a personality that I'm with, or the story. But just keep up this work that you're doing, because it's very important in what we're all doing.
Well, thank you so much. And I think we're probably on the same kind of wavelengths, because for me, I make content for the non-cigar smoker, if that makes any sense. Because I feel like there's so many other podcasts out there, and there's so many other websites. If you want to find a review on so-and-so cigar that just came out, there's like a dozen websites out there for that stuff. But there's so few websites that you can go and find content of, like, why did Matt Booth get into the industry? You know, why after 13 years did he sell his brand to STG? Like, there's so few like sites out there and content like that I was like, I just want to make something like, if somebody came across this and they had no idea like what cigars were about, or they thought they knew, and they, just like how somebody looked, because sometimes that's how people are. They look, say, oh, that person looks interesting. They got tattoos or whatever. And they listen to it and they're like, wow, it's not so bad. And maybe maybe when I'm out in a cigar store, I'll be willing to give that brand a try. Like, to me, that's a little bit more of a better angle for me, because I'm not, like I said, I'm not an aficionado. I can't tell you about the breakdown. I don't even try. So I think like it's great to work from that newbie, level, because it gives you a whole bunch of, area that you can kind of work yourself up to. If you start at the aficionado, you don't leave yourself room to like really go.
That's 100%. There's not enough people there. I mean, we're only going to grow this groundswell by putting more water in the pool. We're not going to do it by continuing to talk to the same guys that believe they've known it all since the first boom of the night in the late 90s.
But that's the thing, is you can't know everything. You cannot know everything about this. And if you listen, we learned. Luciano came to our place the other day, day before yesterday, and he came in, and within 5 minutes, I learned something. Yeah, and and I can't wait to share it. That's the thing. We kind of run contrary. We kind of run against the grain. Well, you've got a lot of these websites that are out there and these podcasts that are taking a puff of a cigar and they're talking about, it tastes like pizza cardboard with roasted marshmallows and some obscure tea that they had somewhere. We fly against the grain. Our position, and particularly with newbies, there's a question that we ask: what do you want to learn about cigars? The majority, I would say 50% of the people say, how to identify flavors. And here's our attitude. Our attitude has always been, your whole life, your mom has slid a dish in front of you and said, eat it. And you take a bite of it, and you either like it or you don't like it. I don't like cauliflower, but I like the grilled cheese. I mean, that's what it boils down to. So our position is, don't worry about it. Don't worry about picking out some obscure, note. Just enjoy the cigar. And if it was good on your palate, let us know, and we'll find you something else in that lane so you can wander around a little bit. But we're kind of, I don't want to say we're anti-notes and flavor. It is what it is. There's a place for it. But when some guy's taking a puff of this and telling me that he's, getting the container that some tea came in and it smelled, just come on, man, give me a break. Yeah, I'm with you.
I will never forget being in the Dominican Republic for Pro Cigar one year. And we were on a bus going to lunch with Manolo Casada. And he was telling us about the history of kind of like ratings and how people talk about cigars. And he was saying how confused he and other cigar makers were, because he said, believe it or not, there's a period of time where there weren't reviews and ratings. He's like, and when people, he's like, on certain publications started to talk about and do reviews, and they were saying like, oh, it has notes of this. And they were like, well, how did they pick that out? Like, they're like, a cigar is supposed to taste like tobacco. He's like, that's just it. And that's always stuck with me, because I'm like, well, if Casada says that, then that's kind of like, that's how it is. And I understand why people try to make it relate and like open up. But to me, it's just like, I think sometimes they get flavors kind of confused with like aroma and all this other stuff. And it's just,
And here's the thing too, is you get it. It's so insanely subjective, right? Mm-hmm. So it's very objective when somebody slides over that grilled cheese. You know what a grilled cheese is because you're looking at it, you're tasting it, you're feeling it, and you know bread, cheese, butter, right? But this is smoke off a leaf that we're burning. It's like, so notes. What does pepper mean? Is pepper a flavor? Is it a sensation? Is it an indicator of strength?
And some people think pepper is this peppery flavor when it could be the acidity from the tobacco that's causing their palate to act like they had food with a lot of pepper.
Yeah.
But it's kind of crazy. So we push, smoke it if you like it, keep smoking it.
Yep.
And more importantly to us, let us know what you like so we can find you something else. Because you don't want to get stuck in a rut. That'll end up disappointing you, because a cigar that's done today, that's manufactured today, isn't going to taste like the same cigar that's manufactured a year from now, just because of conditions, because of soil changes and all these other things that impact it. So don't get stuck on it, because at some point you're going to maybe not like it. Plus, we've seen how much palates mature, how people will smoke a cigar. We get them on this journey, then they go back and smoke something that they thought was it a year ago, and they're like, God, it really doesn't have what I'm looking for now in a cigar.
Yep. What have you, I know this is your show, but can I ask you a question?
Yes, you can.
How would you describe your palate? Because you said you're not an aficionado, which, by the way, is great, because if someone walks in and says they're aficionado, they're ultimately a dickhead. But you are obviously humble in your approach, but I'm curious how someone who's tailored around giving newbies information, how do you describe your palate and what you like?
Well, like when it comes to me, again, it's all based on my experiences. So early on, when I was first starting to, get into the cigar world and was actually willing to actually try the product, because that kind of took a little convincing on my end. I'm not going to, lie about it, but I went to the Dominican Republic at one point, and I'm going to ask you all about traveling and getting the experience, but I went to the Dominican Republic. It was for a Davidoff kind of event where they had their retailers kind of come out to and stuff. And Hendrik Kellner did like a tasting seminar, and he was, and for me, that stuck with me, because he described he had a whole diagram of your tongue. These are the different parts of your tongue. He said he had like different blends like he created, or that, the factory created. Okay, these are not like complete blends. They're like, different components, just like you were talking about, like you have in your event. And so he's like, smoke this one, and then like circle on your piece of paper what part of your tongue it stimulates. And he was like, okay, now that stimulates, your sweet part of your tongue. Now, without that, I would have never have said like, oh, this is a sweet cigar. But now I know, like, he's like, oh, it's like, if it stimulates the tip of your tongue, it probably has like a little peloto in it or whatever. And you're like, oh, okay. And like, it's like the sweet part of your tongue. That's where a lot of sweet stuff hits it. If it's like the size, it might be a little bit bitter or acidic and stuff like that. So to me, that's where, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's where I go back to. I never tell people like, oh, I have hints of this, because like everything, like I said, to me, is just honestly, it tastes like a cigar should taste like, which is tobacco. I don't do the flavor stuff a lot, but I'm not opposed to it. But with me, like some of the flavored stuff, like I don't know if anybody's tried the M by Macanudo. It's like an infused cigar. And, you open up the box and you're like, oh my gosh, this like smells like great. It's like a coffee flavor. It was like the first one that they released a couple of years ago. But to me, when I found out, it's like it smokes just like a cigar should smoke. And, it was the aroma that made it different, that makes it sets it apart. So that's why I'm very careful about, I don't ever try to be a reviewer or rater, because it's just not where I am. But
and to your point, I think you impose certain things when you do that, right? Because it's funny, at the exact moment you said, if it hits the front of your tongue, your palate, it's probably got piloto. Well, our house stick has piloto. So what did I just brought that and went, oh, damn, that's right in the front of my palate. Oh, okay, that must be. we could do the same thing with everything. Oh, this is what you're tasting. And if you're not responsible about it, you can tailor people's experience towards a very self-serving, look how good I am, versus you figure it out for yourself. It is to you what it is to you.
And this is something that we talk about on Deep Cuts a lot. Not, I think this episode would be more about kind of like the tasting experience, because I think it's very interesting. So I want to keep with that subject. But, that's the kind of problem I have with ratings, is that I never want to steer somebody just because there's so much bias. And I've seen this, like you can get somebody a cigar and say, don't care. Don't look at the band. Just give it a try. And if it's something that they are familiar with, like a brand, that's well known and huge, they will not give it a bad review. They'll say, oh, it's this and that. And then if you hand them a brand that's more boutique-ish and they've never heard of it, they will find 10,000 things wrong with it. They'll say, oh, it wasn't as good of whatever. But I bet if we took off the bands, like, it'll be a completely different experience. So for me, people always want to know, like, what's your favorite cigar? And I'm pretty sure you all probably as retailers get asked that a lot too. The whole thing I tell them is like, I said, there's certain brands I like because I know the people behind the brands and know the work that they put into creating that cigar, and then know that they're just not placing an order and then getting it and then shipping it out and counting their money. But to me, it's like, I feel like nobody should be super brand loyal. Like, you should be able to walk into Industrial and like ask you all, like, hey, I'm looking for a mild cigar, something that will, go good with coffee or something like that. And let you all like lead them to something that maybe they've never tried before.
It's, to be honest, it's risky though. It's really risky because there's so many retailers that honestly just are lazy. And
I think that's Brandon has a marketing company. I used to have a marketing company, and there's a couple of just common general themes. We're predominantly men, although the amount of women we have coming in is growing dramatically. But the average, if you think about it, there's two givens. Men don't ask for help, and if we've never heard of it, it must be no good.
Right.
So there's a lot of cigar aficionado ads and ads on Half Wheel, all these different places that there's ads promoting the big box brands. And those big box brands also have their own retail stores and their big e-commerce stores. They have all of those things.
What's up, Larry?
And we are selling, when we have people walk in, there's 90 cigar lounges in Dallas-Fort Worth, 90. And when people walk in here, they're like, I just see a bunch of stuff in here I've never seen before.
Julie.
Well, we're going to explain why, but more importantly, when you explain that an ad in Cigar Aficionado is a 6-figure commitment, that goes into the cost of the cigar, but we're not going to smoke the Cigar Aficionado magazine. So all of that sales network, all of that structure, all lays on top of sometimes a pretty mediocre cigar, but prices it up here. And if I can have a boutique that is this much quality, it's still below the price of some of these big boxes. And you're getting all cigar without the fluff. So the quality of the tobacco, the quality of the roll, the performance, the aging, all of that stuff takes place in those, what people are calling boutique. We call them craft. We always say if we were a liquor store, we would sell all craft beers and we wouldn't sell Bud Light. That's our approach is to have those cigars that are really superior for the money. And
also, to play devil's advocate identically one more time.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's also risky. Because there are a lot of, here's the reality, is that lazy retailer is going to work with boutiques who set up their business structure just like the big guys. You buy this many boxes, we're going to give this many discounts, right? But those guys just want to get the product out. So they go with something that is comparable in the business structure because they don't want to learn the new Darren way, right? They don't want to learn, I'm going to create the best product I possibly can. And those lounges that are operated by lazy owners, let's be honest, there are a lot of them in the industry, are going to work with lazy craft, not saying necessarily that they're not putting in the work, but those craft manufacturers that have just tried to enter like the big box. So those boutique
They think to
cigars.
play in the game, they have to enter the way those guys play.
Exactly, and then they end up
and not be a
corners.
disruptor. You got to be
Exactly.
a disruptor.
So yeah, it's very important the lounge you choose. It's very important the website you choose. However you purchase cigars, it is very, very important to find one that matches what you're looking for in your journey. And thankfully, there are a million out there, and there's something for everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, as retailers, how do you all feel about, the changing dynamics within like the boutique category? And I say that because you see, like 10 years ago, when I first got into the industry, I tell the story all the time. Boutique was a bad word. It was just like a word that some of the bigger companies would say. They go, oh, they're a great guy. That's a great company and stuff like that. But they're boutique, and you're supposed to go like, oh gosh, like thanks.
What are they saying now?
Right. No. And now you see like fast forward to 2022, and I'm seeing a lot more of this happening in the industry. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I don't want anybody to take it the wrong way, but I see a lot more of the big players trying to dabble into the boutique now, and they're trying to create their own boutique brands, and they know that the consumer is probably not going to care. I mean, the consumer is just going to look for, whatever is a good cigar. But how do you feel about, the bigger manufacturers trying to like now come into the boutique category?
Well, I guess in theory, they have access to great tobacco, mountains and piles and mountains of it. But it's a, what is it? A wolf in sheep's clothing. It's just they're trying to be something that they're not. In the end, I think it's let's see if I can go pick off Industrial Cigars by saying we have some boutique stuff now, and then continue to work on us for this other mainstream stuff that is available on their own retailer's website at 35% cheaper than I can buy it. So there's certain things that just, if you're a boutique, just do it. Just be it. If you're going to be a big box mover, just do that.
No, see, that's the thing is they can't. They're going to die.
Which one's going to die?
The big one is going to die because this industry. Look at the makeup. This industry, Antoine, I think you would see it over those past 10 years. It's younger and younger. The amount of my friends who smoke cigars, that 25 to 40 range, everything's sliding down.
Yeah,
so
it's
they
not
can't
a 60-year-old guy business.
It's not all the Gloria Cubana smokers anymore. Those guys are dying off. And if you're not ready to go, you're dead, and you have massive overhead. So you better figure it out. And by partnering with boutiques or buying them as STG did, it's like you've got to do whatever you've got to do to survive. And to me, the rose-colored glasses approach to it is this industry is going to get better and bigger if we can supercharge the ethos of boutique cigar manufacturers with a little bit of the access that they could never get access to, from a product standpoint. I think it makes the world better. I think it's the same thing as what we see. We're just a small little lounge in Frisco, Texas, but watch what's about to happen. And it's up to us to set the wake, albeit maybe it's 5,000 people that see it, maybe it's 100,000 people that see it. But if we can improve the experience for the people who are there, that's what our role is, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And now you all have recently launched an e-commerce store. And I remember, again, having been in the industry for a decade, I remember that being a controversial thing for retailers. At some point, there was some point in the industry where, again, I don't understand it because we were all shopping on Amazon and Target and Target online and having no problems doing that. But I remember there being like a period of time in the industry. I don't know if it's still around, but it was like retailers were pitting themselves against retailers about getting into e-commerce, and they were saying, the true tobacconist and true cigar store owner is just brick and mortar. Like, they don't do e-commerce. And then, they're like, and there's even some who had e-commerce who were trying to push that narrative as well, almost like to kind of create that monopoly, let's be the go-to source. So what made you all finally decide to get into the e-commerce thing, and what has
it's a cool story. Yeah, COVID triggered it. COVID accelerated it. And Brandon's company is doing world-class work, because as you know rather quickly when you enter a website, whether it's somebody that invested time and effort and money into it, or they just went out and bought a template, threw some stuff up there and called it a day. Brandon, in 72 hours, when we found out we had to close our store for COVID, we made the decision that we were going to deliver within a 20-mile radius of our store products. We created a package called CRS packs, like an MRE for military meals ready to eat. We had cigars ready to smoke. We had a 3-day, a 5-day, and a 7-day quarantine pack. And we developed these, and we created the blends. We created the mix of cigars that were in there. So no one knew what they were getting until they got them. That created its own really cool business, which led to the Magical Mystery Tour and our 5th anniversary pack. But Brandon can talk about the execution of that, and then his recent completely reworking of the e-com site. That is really, to me, for a cigar newbie particularly, to be able to shop for an application.
Thank you, Marty.
To be able to shop for that application. I'm going to go out on the patio. So you created the patio pounder pack that has 5 cigars that we chose, that when people get them, they open them up. We're seeing all of their responses now where people are going, man, this cigar is awesome. There's cigars they would have never tried. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it is what his company Go Local is doing.
It's a huge shout out to Busy Bee, my business partner with Go Local Group as well, Gabe Harris. It was a Tuesday, and our business had to close on Friday morning. Thursday at closing, we were done. So I spoke with him. I said, we got 72 hours. Can we build a website, which is product photography, descriptions, build out the whole infrastructure, right? And without bat and eyes.
And integrate with our inventory.
And integrate with inventory, so it was completely seamless. And we're in, and still to date, I think that was one of our telling moments as to what our team is like, because our operations team focused on scraping the entire building. We repainted, we refreshed everything, and then our business also altered to offer that e-commerce ability. It's Industrial Cigars Co, and it really worked. And then on to the newest rendition, which just launched last month, which instead of, if you go to shop by strength, it's not mild, medium, full, because I think that's not telling. But there are smaller, or there are categories that can go inside of that, like easy going, mild and complex, down the middle, rich and smooth.
Yep.
So you think about, like, all right, let's make it a little bit more objective versus mild, medium, full. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit different approach that we've taken on it, and we've seen great response to it.
It's a beautiful site.
It's really
navigation is incredible.
I think it's thank you, and it's working, because what we get to see is, fortunately, we get to reach people who are not in DFW, like the Adams, Julie and Larry Adams, who are on
coming
here
from LaGrange, Missouri.
A lot of these beautiful relationships we have can't just hop in their car and drive to us. So how can we get to them? And that's one way we do it. And the beauty on this side is, if you go to a big, one of these original e-commerce sites, you can buy a box or a 5-pack. But here you can buy singles, and you're buying straight from our humidor. We're literally packing them from the humidor. So it's all our top, 300, 500 SKUs, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And you can buy one of this, one of those. Boop, boop, boop,
and that's the key, is we're pulling it from a properly humidified humidor versus sitting in a warehouse with doors open and getting thrown on it, just sitting on a rack, may or may not be handled in a perfect state.
Mm-hmm. So it's great. I mean, and it's an area where we're learning. And these new packs, the next one that's going to come out, Échale Cabrón, that's all tequila pairings. So it's stuff that's going to work great with new age, really buttery, smooth tequila. We got the Aristocrat packs. So every couple of weeks, we're going to drop some new packs and see if people dig them, or if not, then we'll kill them.
Yeah, we did a package last Christmas called the Magical Mystery Tour. I'm a Beatles fan. Therefore, my kids are Beatles fans. We did the Magical Mystery Tour, and I had told Brandon, I said, let's create a mystery pack, a 5-pack that we'll sell at Christmas time. So he takes it to the next level, does the entire front decal in 3D that you had to wear the red and green 3D glasses. The 3D glasses came in the package along with a card that explained what each of the cigars were, and that whole card was in 3D.
Wow.
So it was a really, really cool package, and it was just awesome. And then we just had our 5th anniversary on Sunday, and we did a 5th anniversary pack where we asked our top 10 manufacturers, go dig in your warehouse, go dig in the humidor of stuff that you made 10 years ago and you just forgot about. It was a project you didn't do. So we were able to deliver a mystery pack, but it had cigars in there. One manufacturer sent us cigars that were 20 years old. We had cigars in there that have never and will never exist in the marketplace. And our customers were buying them like they were buying baseball card boxes, hoping that they got a Mickey Mantle rookie card. It was fun, very, very fun to watch.
And I think that's great about the the 3D glasses thing, because I started off as a graphic designer, and before I got into this other areas of content creation, but people always know outside of the cigar stuff, they always know that I talk about vinyl a lot, and they say, why vinyl? And I say, well, because of vinyl, it's not like, I grew up with the CD era, and the CD era was fun because, you would go to the store, you would buy the CD, you would go home, you would sit there and struggle to open the pack. You would take the booklet out, you would flip through the booklet, you would read all the little notes, the lyrics and stuff like that. And you just don't get that with the digital stuff now. And now with the vinyl, it's like, I'm 38, I'm getting older. So it's like even better because like everything is bigger and you can get to hold the package, you get to interact with it. They get creative with the colors of the vinyl. So it's like that interaction with it. And that's what I think makes people fun, because then you have to pick up the vinyl, you have to put it on the record player, the turntable, put the needle on it and stuff. And it's like that interaction makes you, and then I think I was talking about this a couple of weeks ago, because you don't skip around. You listen to the whole album.
Yeah.
And makes you appreciate it a little bit more. So I think you all obviously kind of thought this through with some of the packs, getting people to moving them through some of your inventory or getting them.
Yeah, and I think the key is that we're not putting product in it that we might have a little too many of. We're putting the best of the best stuff in there. But when we did the CRS packs, we did a mild and a medium and a full body pack, and they were. But it was a curated pack. But it's the surprise, it's the prize in the bottom of the Cracker Jacks that everybody would dump out the Cracker Jack so they could find out what was inside. It was that surprise element 100%. That made it so much fun.
And the product selection is so important, because if you subscribe to a club or subscription service within the cigar industry, there's going to be a few you just don't like. But if you're starting like the first patio pounder that's going out is, we've got LFD Cabinet Maduro, the Crux Bull and Bear, Bandoleros in there, Zulu's in there, stellar cigars that are in there. So there's no misses. There's no accidents in this. We curated as though we would be excited to receive everyone. So, and you get a little price cut on it. So it's the right way to do business, in my opinion, is don't hedge on the good being so good that they don't care about the bad. Just give them all good.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I said, hearing all that is very interesting, because I'm always curious, of what retailers are doing, because you don't, like I said, beyond a trade show, I don't know, do you all hear from other retailers? Do you all get to kind of see what they're doing or hear what they're doing? And do you trade ideas?
Yeah, we're very visible in the market. We do 2 shows a week. I think last I heard, Brandon was telling, we were getting about 100,000 views a month. We have built these relationships with people. Larry and Julie Adams met us on our Saturday show, Saturday at the Shop, and have made the 10-hour trek to from LaGrange, Missouri to Frisco, Texas twice. It's humbling to see that the Gold Leaf Cigar Club in San Antonio, Texas, makes a migration to Dallas twice a year to bring their members up to just hang out in our lounge for 3 days.
Great group.
It's just to see the commitment that people make, then we feel obligated that we've got to make sure that we do as much as we can to entertain them. And the fact that we're so visible, we know for a fact other retailers, particularly in Texas, we know that 6 retailers have started because they watched what we've done and said, I've always wanted to open a store, but I want to do it their way. And one example is Rigby's in Paris, Texas. It's about an hour and a half from here. They were driving an hour and a half down and just sitting in the shop and watching. And one time called and said, would you mind if we just picked your brain? Would you mind if we picked your brain? We told them which air purifiers to get, which point of sale to get, the traps not to step in. Here's the hand grenades that you don't want to hold and pull the pin. All of these things to help them. And I think Wild was another one that is just another that just says that we say, look, we're here to help. Unless you're across the street from us, we're here to help you for sure.
But even if you're across the street, you still got to try to run our pace. Run our pace.
Run our pace, exactly.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you have several comments that have come through while you've been sharing your story. One who you just mentioned says, if you don't live near Frisco, Texas, Industrial Cigar Company is definitely worth the drive. You owe it to yourself to experience the hospitality of the Frakes family. And there was another one earlier from Marty Upton. You are family at Industrial. From the atmosphere to the service to the education, you cannot beat it. Cigars, the great equalizer. So I think you certainly, have made your impact, and you continue to make your impact on the industry, which is why I wanted to have you all on here, because again, I think retail is very hard. Like, people think it's easy and glamorous to have your own cigar store, and they have no idea of how difficult it is to do that. And I could sit here and ask you this question about, how do you create that family atmosphere? But I feel like, some of the comments that have come in have kind of answered that question. But, for other retailers out there who may be struggling a little bit and they don't know, how to create that following, how to create that loyalty, how to keep those customers coming back for more, like, what advice do you have to give those people?
I think genuinely desire, be driven to make sure that every person has a great experience. This down to the simplest things. Pay attention to details, because your customers will. We clean our bathrooms twice a day. It's the most personal place you can go to in here. We don't want it to look like a science experiment. So we clean all of our bathrooms. All of our bathrooms are white tile. No cigar lounge in the world is going to have white tile bathrooms, because it's a once a week thing. We have staff at night that their only job is to make sure that your ashtray is empty. And I've been to shops in other parts of the country where I'll sit there for 5 hours and no one will ever come and touch the ashtray. So these mounds of ashtrays with all these cigar butts inside of it, it just doesn't work for us. We don't empty the ashtray. We empty the ashtray and then with the microfiber clean out the ashtrays. And we're using white porcelain ashtrays. Everything shows. So for us, pay attention and just genuinely have a desire to make sure that when your customer seating is sitting down, they're having a great experience. Brandon probably does it the best in facilitating the culture, and maybe talk a little bit about what happens when somebody comes in and goes, first time in.
Thank you for kicking that over, because that is very valuable operational information. And if somebody's sitting in their seat watching this and maybe they are struggling a little bit, it's very simple. Shake someone's hand when they walk in and take them and introduce them to someone they don't know. And if you introduce strangers to strangers, they're done being strangers. You've just created 2 friends in the lounge now.
Yep.
Do that for everyone that's in the lounge, is introduce yourself and introduce them to who they're sitting next to. And that is the easiest thing to not do, and it's also the easiest thing to do. If you're not willing to introduce, Steve to Jane, then you're just not going to make it.
And Antoine, if you were sitting here, you're sitting as the shop starts to load in at night, you will see everybody that walks in the door that are regulars walk around and shake every person's hand when they get there, and they shake everybody's hand when they leave. And it just shows that they're committed to this place. And it's very heartwarming. I had a brand owner sitting here one day, we were watching Sunday football, and he goes, I don't know if you know this or not, but did you notice your customers shake everybody's hands? I go, yeah, that's the culture. That's the culture. And he's like, I've never seen that before. So it's not going the extra mile, it's making the decision to go the first mile. And that is what is so critical. You know, I say some people everybody likes to have a clean house, but some people do it and some people don't. And that's you just got to be wired to be, let's give these people more than they ever expected when they come to a cigar lounge. It is so critical. And it's easy.
Yeah.
It's cheap. It doesn't cost you anything.
It's easy, but it's not easy to do it all the time, every day. Without fail. And now there will be failures. That's all there is to it. But it's gotta hurt you if you see somebody leave the lounge you didn't introduce them to somebody. And if it doesn't, that's okay. That's just the type of lounge, and you've got to find what makes you unique.
I think one thing that made that gave us a major step forward in that, because we've always done that, but we had the opportunity to take my granddaughter, his daughter, to Disney. Mm-hmm. And that night we were sitting out back at this house that we rented, and we're smoking a cigar, and I'm like, did you notice that the lady that took our money at the parking lot was excited that we were there? And the guy that was picking up stuff that was on the ground made a point of talking to Alessia and doing something special with her.
Calling her a princess. Yeah.
Calling her a princess. And so we started doing research, and Disney has the Disney Institute, which is an online program that teaches hospitality. It teaches the Disney moment. We actually have a box of cigars in our vault, because we have a vault that you can walk into. Outside of our regular humidor, we have another humidor you go through a vault door. But in that room is a box that has Disney experience. And we'll load cigars in there that manufacturers give us, but we've empowered our staff to if they get somebody that's maybe looking at a cigar, but they decide not to get it, well, at the counter before they leave, go, hold on, I'll be right back. They're empowered to go get that cigar and give it to them and say, this is from us. Enjoy the cigar. And we'll do that with people that have been sitting there for 3 or 4 hours. We'll go, hey, give this one a shot. They're empowered to do that. And it's just, we make our staff go through the Disney Institute. It's something we subscribe to. And that has helped mold this mindset that it's about them. And when you take care of them, they take care of your business.
100%.
Awesome. At this point in the show, I usually switch over and ask some general questions I ask everyone who comes on Deep Cuts. I want to ask you two those questions, and you can answer however you like. If you both want to answer it, feel free to tackle it. But the first question that I like to ask is, what is your why? What motivates you to do what you do?
That's the easiest question ever. That's family.
Family.
I just want to put this into perspective. I don't know how many people are watching right now, but I want to put this all into perspective. It's Tuesday, 5:30 our time, September 13th, and I get to live my dream of sitting and owning a business with my family and having a cigar with my dad. And people get to watch this or not, but this gets to happen. And I can hear people laughing and enjoying themselves on the other side of that wall. So that's why. Mm-hmm. We started it for family. We run it for family. And all of us are the ICC family here. If you walk in through this door, you're ICC family. And that for me is full stop. I get to just absolutely live my dream selfishly.
And we had an example, a member that was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer right before COVID, couldn't get in and get operated on. Our wives every night would make him a full meal and take it to his house and deliver it to his front door, not to put him at risk, but to make sure that it was all properly handled. Did that for months. Brandon just took him, he's 2-3 years now fighting this. Brandon just took him and drove him to his doctor's appointment. We when we say welcome to the family, we're in it for the good stuff and the bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to help. Little things like if somebody has to put their dog down, we have a laser cutting machine. My wife has, and his wife has a business together. They have a laser cutting machine. They create angel wings that they put the name of their dog and when they earn their wings, and make a Christmas ornaments out of it and send it to them. And it's those little things that we do it for no other reason than that's what we would do for our family. So yeah, that's real simple.
Yeah, that's an easy
for
one.
us. It's about family.
The final question is: someone comes to you two, they know that you started Industrial and that obviously you're having success with it. They have an idea for their own business, but they have no idea how to get started. What's your advice to that person on how to get started successfully, or at least on the right foot?
Great question.
Identify their potential customers and ask a million questions. Don't develop a service, a product, or anything that sounds good to you without asking questions. It took us 6 years from deciding we were going to do this to open it. And our success is because we listened and continuously listen, because our greatest ideas aren't ours. So you have to really pay attention, take the time to ask the questions and phrase it in this way. I have an idea. I'm not selling you anything now, but I want to make it so when I have something to sell you, you can't say no. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah, I think it's asking questions. Align yourself with people that are willing to answer questions. One of our dearest friends in this industry is Jeff Hogan from Krupp Cigars. We knew him before we opened. We talked to him as a retailer when he knew that once we opened as a retailer that we would sell his line. But in the end, it pointed out to us that we've got to align ourselves with people that are equally as committed to this industry and are willing to share their information. That's, I think, why we pay it forward so often, is because Jeff flew here and we just sat and picked his brain. Jeff Dahl at Safari up in Omaha is another one. We just picked their brains. We traveled around the country and we visited other stores to say, what do they do right? What do they do wrong? And we just kind of assembled those pieces parts. And then in the end, we just said, from a lounge perspective, what would we want for amenities that we would want to sit here 5 days a week, 10 hours a day?
Mm-hmm.
And we built that. And it's all of those little elements are critical. But yeah, I think we've seen it a lot. People they're starting businesses. I think we've run into it recently with a brand owner that will listen. It's like he kind of asks for advice, but then you give him advice, and if he doesn't agree with it, he's still going to do it his way anyway.
Right.
So don't ask for advice if you're not interested in getting the advice.
And I think also with that, Antoine, it wouldn't be right if we didn't get off of this without asking you a question, because you gave us your two canned, and tonight I've got to warm up because we do Cigar Talk
do
Live.
Cigar Talk Lives at 8:00.
It's Central Standard.
We have the big three.
So let's just give them.
Let's just ask him one.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 5 is no answer.
5 doesn't count.
10 is an absolute. 1 is a piss off.
Yeah.
Which one are you going with? Where do you stand?
You know what? He looks to me like he knows all the Star Trek characters. He knows all the Star Wars characters.
He chose us because their last name's Frakes.
So he knows Jonathan Frakes from Star Wars. Or Star Trek. So here's the thing: 1 to 10. This is a 2-part question. Number 1, do UFOs exist?
And 2, have they visited Earth?
Have they visited Earth?
Where do you think he is?
I think. Let us judge you first, real quick. I think he's an 8 that they exist. And I think he's a 4.
I was going 8 and 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going 8 and 4.
Okay.
So do they exist? And 10 being like absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a 10.
Damn. +5.
I knew it.
All right.
I knew the way he smiled with the whole Star Trek comment that he knows them all.
Is a bit too big for for us to be the only people here. I think that would be weird. And what was the second question?
Have they visited Earth?
Have they visited Earth? Like, do you think Roswell happened? Do you think all these sightings coming from the military and all that stuff is real?
I think that would probably be an 8.
Damn. 10-8?
10-8. He's in.
Like it's funny. It's like if you've ever watched American Horror Story, like it might have been last season. They had like a split season, and they did this whole thing where they were showing you like aliens visiting the Earth during like whose presidency was it? I think it was Truman or something like that. And it was like, it was like it wasn't scary, but it was like you could completely see that story being real. And then like I said, Star Trek has always explained different episodes. There's a episode of Enterprise called Carbon Creek for those like deep cut Star Trek fans that want to watch a funny episode, but it's T'Pol, who's like the commanders, is having dinner with the captain and the engineer, and she's explaining to them. They're like, "Oh, we saw, the captain's like, I had to give you your review, T'Pol, and I noticed in looking at your notes, when you were on Earth, before we got on the ship, like you visited this little town in like the middle of nowhere called Carbon Creek." And he's like, "What were you doing out there?" She was like, "Oh, I was." He's like, "Are you on vacation?" She's like, "No, I was studying something." He's like, "Well, what are you studying?" She's like, "I was studying like my ancestors, were on Earth at, back in the 50s. And he was like, and they're like, "No, it's not, because everybody knows that Vulcans didn't come to Earth until, the 20s, 60s or something like that." And she's like, "No, they were on there before." And the whole episode is her telling the story. And then
he's in.
He's
in. I don't need to be.
She tells this whole elaborate story, and then like her ancestor like basically invented Velcro and stuff like that, and it was like this crazy story. And then at the end, she makes it seem like they're like, "Oh, you were joking." She's like, "Well, you did tell me to tell you a story," and they're like, "Oh, that's like like that's not fair. Like you just like crapped out and wasted our time or something like that." But then she goes back to her quarters and she pulls out this box, and it has like one of the items that she was talking about to make it seem like it really was. So sure, I mean, I think, like I said, I think this universe is far too big, and we're kind of on our planet now. I think the aliens might have come here and kind of seen, probably looking at us and see what craziness we're up to, and like, yeah, let's not like interact with them just yet. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if they're ready.
They're too unstable. Well, that means you are officially invited to Cigar Talk Live next time you're at DFW.
Then the other two questions you're really gonna.
Oh yeah, we're getting you liquored up.
So watch us tonight at 8:00 and see what the big three are. We just go take somebody out of the shop. We just put them in the hot seat.
What's in Hackenberg tonight?
And it's amazing how people think because they're on the internet they have to tell the truth. So it's really it's turned into a show that's gotten a lot of legs. Because they're constantly, we get 250 comments a show, and they're like, get into the judgment zone. So it's a lot of fun. So hopefully you get a chance to watch it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like I said, I definitely want to have you all back on here soon, because I know that we only like scratch the surface of things we could talk about. But I always tell people it's kind of like the Dolly Parton theory of food. She says she always leaves a little bit on the plate for the angels to come eat later on, and that's how she also keeps her figure. So I always leave a little bit on the plate so that you all could come back and not feel like you spent 5 hours talking to me and like what else could there possibly be to talk about. So definitely want to have you all back. But
if we could ever get you to Frisco, come on in. We'd love to have you on our show.
Yep,
for sure.
Before we go though, could you tell people where Industrial is and tell them about the web, like I said, the e-commerce site and the regular website and the social media and all that kind of stuff?
Yep. Thank you for displaying that down low. If you guys do want to check out the site, you can also access the e-commerce site, industrialcigars.co, on our .com site. That will kick you over. Hashtag welcome to the family, but Instagram, you can catch.
And we do have a virtual tour of our store on the website, which is great. So you can go in and tour the humidor, to our shop, and see what that's all about.
Yep, and we are located in Frisco, Texas, which is basically far north Dallas. We're about 25 minutes from the airport, from DFW airport. We're 30 minutes from downtown center of Dallas. Incredible town. This is a very significant city at the very, very beginning of the bell curve of what is.
The city is booming. Toyota moved their world headquarters here. The Dallas Cowboys are right up the street. The PGA just moved their world headquarters right up the road from us. It is a city that is absolutely exploding.
Awesome. Well, definitely. Like I said, if I'm ever in Dallas, I don't think I've ever been to Dallas. So
we should make that happen.
Can we ask another personal question?
Oh no.
Do you like barbecue?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, we're
I know. So like
all the way from the best barbecue in the city of Dallas. So yeah, we can make sure you'll gain weight and probably get embarrassed.
Yeah, we can guarantee it.
Sure. Yeah, guaranteed.
Good things will happen too.
Yeah, that too.
awesome. Well, thank you both for coming on. And like I said, I want to have you all back on at some point in the near future to talk about some other stuff. And I'm sure that will be a lot more industrial on deep cuts going forward. But thank you all for giving me an hour and 5 minutes of your time.
Thank you.
It
went by awful fast.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, and for anybody who's watching this on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, just make sure you hit that like or subscribe button. And if you're listening to this on any of the podcasting platforms like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, iHeartRadio, hit that subscribe button and also leave a review, because reviews help me to improve the show. You're not going to hurt my feelings. If there's something you feel like we can improve on, and if there's something that you liked, then please put that in the comments and review as well. We do have another show coming up next week with Industrial Cigars. So a brand that I have not dealt with a lot, but I'm looking forward to kind of learning more about them with you all on next week's show. And and so if you miss any of this episode or any of the other 108 episodes, I think, so you have 108 hours worth of Deep Cuts content that you can catch up on. You can catch all the episodes on deepcutslive.com. And also on YouTube and Facebook. So plenty of places to get all
and you can see it on Cigar Newbies.
Yes.
So join Cigar Newbies and you can watch Deep Cuts every week.
You cut into his outro, man.
Sorry, I blew up, man.
No, that's good.
Sorry, I blew up. It'll never happen again. What's a show that we don't interrupt?
I'm muting.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone. And until next time.